Going to call the meeting to order at 6:05. And we'll begin with a pledge of allegiance to the flag. I understand that not everyone has a flag available to them, but I do here in the office, so I will lead us in that. If you would join me, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the
republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, good evening and welcome to the December 14th, 2001 school board meeting. We do have one adjustment to the agenda. Rowena Hathaway was going to do a presentation for us this evening for the high school, but we're going to put that off until our January meeting. We'll begin then by first approving the minutes for the November 9th, 2021 school board meeting. Do I have a motion for that approval?
I make a motion.
Okay. Was that Kayla or was that you, Karen? Karen?
That was Kayla.
Kayla. Okay, can I have a second, please?
Second.
Second by Karen. Okay, thank you very much. Any discussion, corrections or additions?
I was just going to suggest, Mary, that we invoke like we used to when we had Zoom, is the Chaircast 1 rule, where you could say Chaircast 1. Are there any oppositions? If nobody opposes, then you can approve it instead of trying to do 16 ayes across the.
Okay. Chair counts 1. Any objections? The motion passes. Okay. We now need to approve the minutes for the special board meeting that occurred last week on December the 7th, 2021. May I have a motion for approval of those minutes? Somebody speak up because I can't see anybody.
So moved.
Okay, and do I have a second? Johanna, second. Any discussion? Okay, chair counts 1. Any in a disagreement? The motion passes. Thank you very much. We now have a public comment portion of our meeting. Is anyone interested in speaking to the board? Seeing none, we'll move on. Let's begin with our presentations for this evening. With us this evening is Levi Robinson. And he is going to present the audit for the 2020-2021 budget. Levi, I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, for those who have not met me, I'm Levi from RHR Smithing Company. So I don't know if anyone has a copy of the draft in front of them, but even if you don't, I'm just going to go real quick over the general highlights of it. And if there's anything in detail that you have questions on, whether it be now or in the future, just let Sheila know, and I'm sure she'll forward those to me. So in general, your overall general fund balance went up in about 160,000. And honestly, since the years I've been doing the audit, which I think is probably 3 or 4 at this point, you're in the best financial shape you've been in, and to the point that you have a ton of money, but we'll touch on that in a second. So your school nutrition's looking better too. So that's one of the things that was kind of barely in the positive last year, but that went up about 22,000 as well. So that's at least a better state for that to be in. Anytime that the school nutrition's in a positive, because there's a lot of programs around the state that I see that aren't that way. So anytime it's in a positive, I think that's always, where you want to be. Just a little bit, not obviously, making a ton of money, but, having enough to in and out to generate just a hair over that is about what you're looking for. And it's pretty much perfectly that right now. So nothing really more to say about that part of it. Now, as far as the amount of money you have, so your undesignated fund balance, there's actually a change in that. So in last year, we mentioned about your undesignated fund balance. There's a state statute that says anything over 3% of your budget, you're supposed to use in the following 3 years to either lower taxes or you can transfer it to reserve, which obviously this year you did transfer some money to the reserve and you still went up 160,000. So you still got, some more meat on that bone to either transfer to those existing reserves or create new ones if you have certain purposes for that, or to, use even more to lower the tax burden. But the statute actually increased it from this year. It went from 3% to 5%. Now for you, 3% of 4.8 million was 144,000. Your undesignated this year is 810,000. So 5% of that's 240. They realized too that, especially because of COVID, that really 3% of your operating budget, it's just too little to, these unexpected things like COVID. So they've even increased it next year. And I think that goes through 2025 up to 9%. So at that point, it'd be 432,000. So you're about double that, a little under that, but you've got some money to, transfer to those reserves or use, like I said, to lower the tax burden. But at least they've given that flexibility where the percentage is much more realistic now. So that's one thing to mention there. The other thing is in prior years, you'll see a little bit of a change if you're looking at the draft this year where the student activities are concerned. In past years, they've kind of all been lumped together as fiduciary funds, so you couldn't really tell too much what's going on. This year, GASB released some additional guidance that basically says, hey, we've got to relook at how these things are defined. And once you start reading into that and go through it, these student activity accounts, all of a sudden, they can't really be defined in most cases. And then for you, that's certainly the case as well. They have to be considered a special revenue fund. And what that means essentially is that not only are they shown differently, you'll see them on the financials in a different section than they were previously, but also that they need to be subjected to all the same processes as your other governmental funds. So the big one of that, and I've already mentioned this to Sheila, I'm sure she's probably heard something of it, is that the warrant aspect of it. So it's creating a process in place for those student activity transactions, which haven't gone through the warrant process in the past, to at least go through that in some form that's not going to be completely overbearing and, too much to deal with. And I'm sure Sheila will, facilitate that. So that's one other thing to mention. And I think in prior years as well, we had some discussion about the off-book cash accounts, and those are now on there. So that's a good thing too. But overall, you're in, like I said, the best financial state that you've been in since I've started doing the audit. So, it's nothing but praise that, starts from Sheila's, management. I know she's looking at retiring eventually now. So finally, I'm not finally in a bad way, because she is great to work with. So, but I know she wants to do that, and she's leaving you a very well position that it's been in for a long time. So I think that's about it. Is there any questions?
Are there any questions or discussion? For this purpose and moving forward through the rest of the meeting, either raise your hand or use a hand signal from your reactions button to let us know that you want to make a comment. I don't see any. So with that, I'm going to thank you, Levi. We appreciate the summary of that audit, and we'll be bringing that back up in our Finance Committee report.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it. Our next presentation this evening is by Katie Willis, the gifted and talented teacher.
Hi,
Hi, Katie.
can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Good. Yep, my name is Katie Willis. I am actually the K-8 academic interventionist, which means I work with RTI students as well as gifted and talented students. And so this year, it's my first year in this position. And this year we started a group in middle school called Critical Thinkers. And there's actually a group for 3 through 5 as well called Critical Thinkers. And it's students who are able to think critically and take their knowledge to the next level and go deeper in their learning experience. And so what I'm going to present to you today is what we did in the 6th through 8th. And I actually have 4 students, and I checked, and I believe they're all still here in the Zoom. 4 students are going to present live to you tonight. And I also have a presentation to show you of some students who they had a choice to either present through a video or write a paragraph or to show up to the school board meeting. So I'll have a presentation of those. So I will start. Let me share my screen.
I think you should be able to, Katie. Yeah.
Yep. Oops. I want it to start over though, so hold on one sec.
Again.
So many buttons to click. Here we go. So this is the group. And if you are in the Zoom and you're going to present tonight, just make sure that you're ready because you'll do your presentation as soon as I'm finished. So these are my kiddos. We worked in the conference room upstairs so they could be nice and spread out and have good workspace. We started this project. It's called Paper Roller Coasters. And they started this project back in October. So that's how long it's taken them to complete their project. And this was a very cheap project because all they had was cardstock paper and tape. Those were our only 2 supplies, and their critical thinking skills. So, but it was very cheap for materials. And I met with 6th. It was a combination of 6th and 8th graders, or 7th and 8th graders, or 6th and 8th graders. So it's kind of challenging because every day I had a different group of students. So that was a big challenge for me to be able to manage different groups of students each day. But I'll show you some of the pictures here. Some of the things that went well with the group were collaborative thinking. We had some kids that chose to work in partners and some that chose to work individual. As they began their structures, you can see the white parts are the columns and beams, and that was their main foundational structure. And that took the longest time. They probably took 6 weeks just to build that part. But I told them that was the foundation of their whole project. So it really needed to be sturdy. So they took that part very diligently and very seriously. And then they got to have the fun with all of the colored parts or different obstacles or courses that their marble will take as it goes through. And this is 100% their ideas. So we talked about speed, momentum, the pitch of the track, the length of the track. It was a lot of thinking and a lot of problem solving that went into each section of this. And by the end, they were so proud and so excited with their work. So that was pretty exciting to see them get excited about something. And it wasn't something, in their typical school day where they're doing math problems or writing a history report or anything like that. They got to be creative and create something of their own. So, and this is one of our students that actually left right around Thanksgiving. Him and his brother moved back to Germany for a few months. So he chose to write a paragraph since he wouldn't be able to attend the school board meeting. But so there's his paragraph, and he just goes through the process of his roller coaster, and he uses some of the technical terms of each section and then how his marble made it through the path. And he ends with, "Thank you for looking at my super awesome marble roller coaster." So I like that part. And this is his roller coaster. So I'm going to play the little video. Hopefully it plays for you. So I like that one. It has the 3 entry points that all go into the one funnel, and then they all end in the same spot. So I thought that was pretty neat. And this is another pair. This is the sibling to that boy. So he's in Germany as well. So he chose to do a video as well for his. And so I'll play that one. It's a little bit longer, but not too much. This one's really cool too, because it's the same, has, I think, more than 3 even. It has several entry points and obstacles that each marble will take. But then by the end, they all end up in the same spot at the end in the one little pocket. So this one's pretty neat to watch.
Again. 9.
And that was the end of that one. So, yeah, so that's my part of the presentation. I just wanted to show you those kiddos that weren't able to make it to the school board meeting tonight. But I do have 4 students here who were, I'm so impressed to have 4 like preteen, teenage students that wanted and were excited to come share with you, with a school board, of a project that they did. So I'll leave it to them if anybody wants to go first. If not, I believe Nat wanted to go first. Oh, I think I saw Tristram. Tristram, would you like to go first and Nat second? Can we do that? Okay, all right, Tristram, so you can go ahead and unmute yourself and I'll mute myself.
Can you
And you
start
can
the video log?
and share your video. Yep, there you go.
Okay, you put down the emoji things.
I need you to just talk, please.
Okay. My name is Tristram Woodman. I am in 6th grade. This is my marble slide. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It has 2 ways. I'm going to put down the big one first. I told you it wouldn't work. Try take 2. It missed. I'm going to start it from here. Take 3. Take 4. And then I have another way. Get more of the half pipe. I think the easiest part was like putting together the columns because they're like really simple to put together, and the beams. What was challenging was I had almost finished the structure, and like I thought that the meeting was coming up like really soon, so I was all worried that I wouldn't have time to do my stuff, but then I did have time to do my stuff and I got through. And I think my favorite part was either the tipping switch or the half pipe. I mean the switchback, not the half pipe. The half pipe is this bit, the switchback is this bit. And that's it.
Very good, Tristram. Thank you. Yeah, Tristram's is taller than some of the students that would walk in the hallway. So his got the most wow when when people would walk by, because it's very tall. You can see he's not a short kid, and it's it's taller than he is. Yeah. All right, Nat, are you ready?
I am accredited to Tristram's project. I have to stand on a step stool to reach mine. So my name is Natalie Elves. This is my roller coaster that I made. Let's see if you can see it. Okay, there we go. I'll show you how it works. So it goes down there, do this, down there, do that, up here, around, switchbacks. We were lucky this time, it worked. I thought the easiest part of this to put together was this stair part and these two things, the sharp curves. Okay, and then what was really challenging for me was I had some trouble getting started. I had a partner in the beginning, and then the partner went away, and then I didn't come for a bunch of weeks because I overbooked myself. And so it was week 6 and I didn't have much done. And so I really spent a lot of time at the end just figuring out how to make things work. And I'm really grateful for Miss Willis and all the other kids who helped me figure it out. My favorite part of building this was probably when things actually broke, because then I could be like, oh, does this need more tape, or do I need to cut this thing in half to make it work? And that was my favorite part. And then when it all came together and it actually worked the first time here, I was really proud of myself. So yeah, that was what worked.
Yeah, great job. Yes, Nat, you are so honest that she was a little bit late beginning, getting motivated and getting interested. And then she started to see how beneficial it would be to just crank down and do it. And she has a very successful marble run. Very proud of you, Nat. And let's see, I have 2 others. I have Shirley and Perrin. If you'll give me an emoji reaction of which one of you would like to go next. Shirley. All right. So Shirley, you can go ahead and unmute. And then that means Perrin, you'll be last.
Hi, my name is Shirley Truland. Here's my wonderful marble run that you can barely see. I don't have a fancy camera woman like Tristram, but we're gonna do it. What went well for this? I think the switchback right here, this pink thing, I think that went well because I have a whole script. It adds a little drama because it like slows it down a little bit. I was afraid it wouldn't run down as smoothly as it did, and it, poof, magic, it did. So that was nice. Also the funnel, this thing up here and the catch worked pretty well. Challenges would also include the funnel and the catch. That took a lot of trial and error, and I did it. My favorite part was probably folding all the pieces together. I just found that relaxing. Yeah, there it is.
Great job, Shirley. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, Shirley was very diligent. She worked slow and steady the entire time. It was wonderful. And Perrin, you're last up, bud. So you'll just unmute and share video. Or sorry, just stop or show your video.
Hello, my name is Perrin LaValle and I'm in 8th grade. And I will show you my model. Try that again. That time it worked well. And I'd say my favorite part would be the loop-de-loop. That was pretty fun to put together. And some troubles I had, I guess, would be like supporting the things up and holding them there and putting it together.
Very good, Perrin. Nice job. And Perrin was super excited to have it at home because he is super excited. It's the day I told him we were going to build this. He was like, when do we get to tear it apart? So that's what he's interested in. So Perrin, it's yours. You can do whatever you want with it now. And thank you, everyone. That was our presentation.
Miss Willis, can I set mine on fire?
It's all yours.
Oh my gosh.
I have a blowtorch. It's for cooking purposes, but I can probably use it to set things on fire.
Hopefully you do that outside, Natalie. Carefully.
Have a driveway and it's covered in gravel, so I should
There
not
you
burn
go.
anything down.
That should be
Hopefully.
safe then. Thank you very much to the students, and Katie, also thank you to you for taking the time to share this with the board. We're really trying to pull our focus back in on all the exciting and academic things that are happening in the building, so the board is aware of the wonderful things that are going on at the school. And we appreciate you sharing that with us tonight. Thanks. Okay. Our last presentation this evening is by Sean Russell, and he has been diligently working for the last month or so, a little longer, to evaluate and improve the communication systems we have in place in the building out to the community, probably prompted in large measure by the fact that we've had to have a number of COVID alerts go out to parents, and we wanted to make sure that was adequately covered, but also just to improve the website. So I'm going to turn it over to Sean.
Thanks, Mary. And Mrs. Willis, really nice job. I was really excited to see the presentation before as we had talked about it, and it was great. So as Mary said, I've been working pretty diligently on improving communications here at RLRS. So can everyone see my screen okay? Okay. So I think it was in early November, I was approached by Georgia and some other folks in administration. The school board had been talking about, or a few members of the school board had been talking about communication. And you know, I think we had some gaps in some areas that we could improve. So, you know, me, Georgia, and Seth really discussed, you know, what we were doing well, what we could do better at. And we did some prioritization and went to work. So one of the first things that we did was we took a close look at parent and guardian email addresses, and that was really done by Kim Dolbier. She manages that piece of it, and she's been doing an awesome job and found that we really didn't have any gaps there to fill. We can make systems better and improve them, but right now that looks like a pretty good system. We have a parent and guardian email address for each student that we have at RLRS, so that part's pretty good. We also took a close look at Remind. So that's our SMS messaging service. The reminds come to people who are opted in as like a text message. So Kim looked at that. We had around 150 or so parents or guardians opted in out of 191 students. So we had a pretty good success rate there, but we're trying to close that gap as well. I know Kim works pretty hard at sending out information as to how to opt in and that sort of thing. Then we also sent a survey to parents and guardians regarding communication to see where we could improve. And we tried to avoid yes and no questions to get some real feedback. And a lot of the feedback was positive, but we did have a few recommendations that we did take into consideration. And we did actually put forth some of the recommendations that we had. I spoke to other school districts around the state regarding their communication practices to get kind of an idea as to what other schools do. And one of the positive things I found from that is we're doing a lot of the things that other schools are doing, but there are some different types of technology out there I'm looking into to maybe change, maybe supplement what we're doing. But for right now, I think we're doing a pretty good job. But really where I stepped in was to harness all these different platforms that we're doing, kind of reel it back and get a system as externally anyways as to what we do. Another piece that we did was we checked for parent and guardian participation in Seesaw. So that's really important right now while we're remote, because Seesaw is our learning management system. And that's how classroom teachers communicate with parents and guardians primarily in grades pre-K through 5. So that was pretty important. And we have a parent or guardian in Seesaw for every student that we have in grades pre-K through 5. We also delegated responsibility for the website and made improvements. So before I was an admin on our website, but it wasn't really, part of my job. It was just something that I did from time to time. But now I'm really devoted to putting on updates to the website, making improvements, that sort of thing. There was a lot of improvements that need to be made to the website. And I think we've made some pretty good strides in the past month or so, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And then I also created an external communication presentation that is on the website to provide additional clarity for parents, guardians, and maybe people moving to the area as to how we communicate. And we also are adding 2 types of print media to our quiver. So Kim is bringing back the news bulletin, putting it in backpacks, and also attaching the lunch menus to that too, monthly. So that's a pretty good piece. And Abby Thompson has written a brushstroke of the board minutes to go in the Highlander. And I know Seth's working with the Highlander too. So we're trying to hit that area as well. And then after all of that, we also talked to a few members of the school board, and they had some really good ideas as to what we could do in terms of changes to the website for recommendations. And I took some of those and have finished those as well. So I don't know, you can all see my screen, but I'm going to switch tabs here and go to the Rangeley Lakes Regional School website. So before I came on board, pun intended, I guess, we're at a board meeting. This picture was huge. Couldn't really see below. I did add this news and announcements button here. So any news and announcements that comes through, whether it's like a health announcement, news about like a ski scholarship that was something today, anything that's fairly important, I'll put in this area here. And you can also get to it from the home drop down at news and announcements. Mr. Liberty also puts out a weekly update. This week we did one on Monday, and that's right here too to be played. I think he really likes this picture being so large on the website. Maybe we can do a different thumbnail going forward. I also added some pieces to the Board of Education drop down here. So these committees are added with the members within, agendas and minutes from those committees, and also hyperlinks to folks' email addresses. And I also added a special meetings piece. So if we ever have a special meeting where board members are present and it needs to be a public meeting, folks can go there. I added a banner. There was one in the past, but I added a different banner this year. And that's for mostly alerts and for things like snow days, that sort of thing. I updated the contact directory, the staff directory here, and I took some considerations from Chris about making it more mobile friendly. So you could click on phone numbers from your phone and call. So still working on the extensions piece, but I found out today from my iPhone that some of the things I did work, so that's good. But yeah, still working there. And then we're also working too on making the classroom pages a bit more up to date. That'll take place during some PD time. But I did change this drop down a little bit because it was really long. So on a phone, it was kind of cut off. So I got rid of some things, moved some other stuff to resources, and then also made this as a subcategory here where you could go to, elementary, middle, high school, and then specials as a subcategory here too. But for now, I'm going to go to this presentation. So the way that you would get to it would be by going to home and external communication, but I actually have as a tab up right here. So this is the presentation I had talked about in the other presentation that I that I referred to. And this basically gives folks a map as to how we communicate. And I took a recommendation from Chris to add hyperlinks to this presentation as well. So for anyone's name that you see, it goes to their email address. And for the hyperlinks to the platforms, it goes to the platform's login. So I find that pretty helpful. But I'll go over this very quickly. I won't take too much of your time, but I think it's important. So this is an overview of public platforms as to how we communicate with the public, parent and guardian platforms. So how we message parents and guardians that we have for students, the folks who manage those platforms, the type of information that goes onto the platforms, events and cancellations, and how to contact RLRS. So types of platforms that we use. One is the website that you just saw. The other is Facebook, which I think a lot of you are familiar with. A newly added one from last year when I came on board was the YouTube channel. So that's where I upload these board meetings, events like graduation, athletic events, other events that I film, that sort of thing. And then we also have the parent and guardian communication piece here, which those platforms include Remind, email, Seesaw, Google Classroom, and Powerschool. Luckily, we have a really good staff at managing these pieces, and we work really well together. So I think that's a really good plus. So platforms for public information, the website, that's what I manage. That's the rangeley.school.org domain. Contains messaging for the public, students, and staff to see. I manage all updates to information on the website as of the last month, really. And those updates, I talk with RLRS administration, mainly Georgia and Seth, when I'm updating the website. This platform holds all information related to events, public announcements, public athletic information, public academic information, recognitions, as well as cancellations. So this is really like the star when it comes to our information. It's kind of like a launch pad. Then everything else kind of trees off of that. So Facebook, Wendy Stewart currently manages that. We have a Facebook page under the title of Rangeley Lakes Regional School. I'm sure 95% of you are familiar with that who are here tonight. And Wendy manages all the updates to that page, or most of them, as directed by RLRS administration. These include events, cancellations, and recognitions, and other things too. So YouTube, RLRS has two YouTube channels. One is the Rangeley Lakes Regional School YouTube channel. That's where things like the live streams go, athletic events, that sort of thing. And then I also have one called Rangeley Technologies, where I do screencasting probably about once a week. So I give tech tips. So if any of you are looking to increase your abilities, most of them are Mac related. So I'm sorry for anyone who uses Windows machines, but we live in the Mac world here at RLRS. But if you are looking for any tech tips, you can go there. And I manage both channels, live streams, all of that for both channels. Then here it talks about the content, but I kind of went over that already. So these are platforms for parent and guardian information. The big one is Remind. Kim does a really good job at managing it. Lately, she's been messaging on Remind about every day. I'm sure a lot of you parents see that. Remind is an SMS text messaging tool that the RLRS front office staff, Kim mainly, and Lindsay sometimes too, uses to communicate with parents, guardians, and staff. Kim Dolbier handles the Remind platform. This includes sending of messages as well as the management of users on the platform. So if you're not in Remind, you talk to Kim to get opted in. She's the one who can manage that piece. And she sends messages that are directed by RLRS administration. So Remind is used exclusively for parents and guardians and staff. So any messaging on that platform is geared to that audience. It's kind of an internal piece. And then email as well. Kim handles that too. Like I said, she's been doing a really good job with that before I even got here. And we use Gmail as our email service provider. So we have G Suite Enterprise, and all staff and students in grades 6 through 12 are provided a G Suite account. So most of the internal stuff is conducted over Gmail. And Kim Dolbier also holds parent and guardian email addresses, and those are found from Powerschool generally. And Kim Dolbier sends external information via email to the appropriate audiences as directed by RLRS administration. She does a really good job managing the Google groups and where the messages need to go and that sort of thing. So Seesaw, like I said before, that's our LMS system for pre-K through 5. We adopted it, I think, when we first went remote for COVID, and it's been one of those tools that we decided to continue. It's a really awesome tool. lately with being remote, it's been great for posting assignments and also communicating with students. You can communicate with an entire class, families, or with students directly on this platform. Every student in grades pre-K through 5 is rostered in the respective class in Seesaw, and the Seesaw app is installed on all iPads for students in grades K through 5. So when they take them home, they have the Seesaw app. They can communicate with their teachers that way. This allows students to post pictures of their work and perform work on assignments that are posted in Seesaw. Parents and guardians connect to Seesaw via email or QR code for invitation. So if there is a parent who would like to be opted into Seesaw and is not currently, they can contact me. I can get them in there to the respective class and teacher. They can either download the app or receive updates via email or on the web. So they can log into the website online and receive updates that way too. So Google Classroom, this is a really good tool as well. For students in grades 6 through 12, we use Google Classroom as our LMS, kind of like Seesaw for pre-K through 5. Every student in grades 6 through 12 is provided a G Suite account by myself, like we had talked about. And with that G Suite account, they have the Classroom app within. So this allows students to communicate in and work with the applications in the G Suite enterprises like Google Docs, Sheets, Slides, that sort of thing. And students in these grades also take their provided MacBook Airs home with them so they can communicate with teachers and peers that way too, whether it be at school or at home. Right now at home, so it's really important they have those devices. And like I said, one of the applications in the G Suite Enterprise is Google Classroom, and many of the classes in grades 6 through 12 at RLRS use Google Classroom. And then Powerschool, this is a pretty big animal. This is our SIS system, and Abby Thompson and as well as Seth manages Powerschool and the credentialing and information that's stored within it. They do a really good job. I'm kind of just been hitting the tip of the iceberg in terms of Powerschool, and Seth and Abby have been pretty helpful. Powerschool holds all the information that we have for students, like addresses, parent contact information, grades. It really has everything. And parents and guardians are also able to view student progress in Powerschool as well. So when events and cancellations, events are posted on website, Facebook, and sometimes YouTube, like basketball games, school board meetings, anything I can get to film with an internet connection, I'll live stream. So events at RLRS or that we're part of are posted on both the website and the Facebook page. But if there is something I can film, it's also posted to YouTube as well. And that would be the Range of the Lakes Regional School YouTube account, as opposed to the Range of Technology YouTube account. The website also holds calendars for the school year, athletic events, and Foster Tech down in Farmington. So for weather events or cancellations, those are posted on the website, Facebook, and Remind as well. When an event is canceled or postponed, parents and guardians are messaged via Remind. Information is also released through a banner on the website as well as the Facebook page. Weather cancellations can also be heard on the radio and news stations. Kim does that part, which I think some of those kids are really happy when snow days come. I remember seeing the news when I was a kid, and that was one of my favorite things in the world, to go snowboarding. Health notices. So that's been really important lately. I've been posting those on the news and announcements page. Me, Kim, Lindsay, and George have a really good system right now as in regards to putting out the health notices. And I think we hit that nail on the head. If there's any advice or anything that we could do differently, please let us know. But I think right now it's going pretty well. So those are published in the news and announcements page. Kim does the Remind and the emails, and I think the message gets to everyone who needs to know. So for contacting RLRS, like I talked about before, we have an email in the staff directory on our website. Staff email addresses can be found in the staff directory page. That'd probably be the best way to contact someone if you needed to. Or you can always call the school too, and Kim usually manages the phone system there during the day, and she also handles transfers as well. So she's really the person, fielding a lot of this stuff, and she does a pretty good job at it. So going forward, some of the things that we're thinking about doing, one is improving and updating those classroom websites, and some of the information is in regards to student services, that sort of thing on the website. We'll get there. It just takes a lot of time. And now that we have someone devoted to the website, I think, maintaining it is a big piece too. Putting focus toward improvement of athletic communication. I think now that we have all of these platforms and someone to kind of manage where things go, I think we can harness it pretty well. I also talked to Tim and also talked to Jeff a bit too about Tim was thinking about having some student correspondence, doing some athletic updates and sending them to WRGY. So maybe I could put those on the website as well. I also want to develop an internal communication plan like the one I just presented for external to help people get a clear idea, especially new staff, as to how things work at the school. And, as we continue to go forward, continued research on new platforms for external communication. I think there's a lot of technology out there and it's kind of hard to sift through, but I think if you have someone kind of putting some time into it and seeing what's worthwhile, that's important too. And then another big piece too, like I said before, is the additional maintenance and updates to the website as we go along, because a website is only as good as if you can update it. It might be good at one point in time, but if you live it for a year, it's basically worthless. So you really need someone in there every day. Lately with the health updates and everything going on, I've been in there pretty much every day, multiple times, updating things. So that's kind of where we're going. Thought it'd be good for all of you to know. And if you have any questions, just let me know.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sean. That was really an excellent presentation. Does anybody have a question or comments for Sean? Excellent job.
Thanks,
And
Mary.
seeing no other comments, we'll move along to item 6 on the agenda, reports out by the various folks. I'll start as a chair report out, just to give you an update to mark your calendar. Deb Ladd and I, as chair and vice chair of the board, are hosting a cookie and coffee send-off for staff on December the 22nd. That's going to happen about 12:15 in the building. That's a week from Wednesday, tomorrow. So if you can join us to say happy Merry Christmas to the staff, we'd really appreciate you being with us for that. And with that, I'll turn it over to Georgia.
Thank you. Okay, some real exciting news. We have been working with the Eustis School Department now, Seth and I, for about a year, maybe a little bit longer, in trying to maybe, get some more interest in some of their kids, their 8th graders coming our way for high school. And the conversations are, really sort of ramping up. We actually have a parent night coming up on January 19th with parents that are interested or, would like to get more information about our district. As you probably all have heard, there's been some chatter with the SAD 58 system and not really sure, what direction they're going. So, we'll see how this goes. I'm excited. It's been a pleasure working with Barry. We'll see what happens. I'll keep you all posted on this, but it could, our numbers could be going up a little bit, which is pretty exciting. Let's see. In regards to our COVID sort of remote response to kind of where we're at right now, we have put some additional safety precautions in place in-house in the building around snack time and around lunchtime. We have done some assigned seating at lunchtime just because the close contact identification, it becomes complicated when kids are, sitting in different places. So, and snack time, just making sure that kids are seated when they're eating. As you know, we have had a number of health notices go out over the past couple of weeks and have had, 6 cases in the past 14 days. Obviously, that puts us in outbreak status, which is why we decided to go remote for a short period of time. And as we communicated out to parents, we wanted to offer the pool testing piece to families. We actually had a really good turnout for that on Monday. I'm going to have Lindsay speak to what data she has. It does, I did get a priority notice today from DOE that stated that they are updating what their outbreak status definition is, and that is going to be communicated out. The changes will be communicated out in their standard operating procedures within the next couple weeks. But, you know, outbreak status plays as is until tomorrow. So we'll see what happens with that. And with that, and in addition, what I'd said was, or what administration had said was that we kind of wanted to wait and see what information we got back from the pool testing. Actually, the pool testing makes us feel a lot better, or, you know, somewhat better about making decisions about whether or not we can be in the building. We still are waiting for some information to come back. We would like to wait until tomorrow to make a decision moving forward, because as Lindsay's going to speak to, you know, within a 24-hour period, things can go a completely different direction for us. It's been quite a ride the past week or so. So Lindsay, I'll let you speak to the data.
Okay, so I know that Mary and Deb had asked this question the other day, and I didn't have the answer for them then. And I did have some time today to kind of look at it. But just to give you a snapshot of what our numbers for pool testing look like, we have at the pre-K through 5 grade span, 70% of our students are enrolled in pool testing. In 6 through 12, 65% of our students are enrolled in pool testing, and 85% of our staff are enrolled. So pretty, like, our numbers are, I'm very happy with them. We've had a lot of people in the recent weeks who have enrolled, some as early as yesterday or as late as yesterday enroll. So it's a big determining factor for a lot of athletes as well. And so it is kind of what is allowing them to continue to play sports, especially the indoor ones. So I feel like we get a pretty good snapshot of what's actually happening based on those numbers. So with that being said, as Georgia said, we have had 6 cases in the building within the last 2 weeks of school. We have I think 14 kids in a full quarantine right now, based on either where they were exposed, whether it was an outside exposure or whether it was in the building. There's a lot of contributing factors there. Happy to say that our positive cases have been somewhat sick, but are doing, they're stable. Also with that, I'm going to switch hats for a second and put on my health officer hat. I have been in contact with Chief Bacon today, who we kind of do a lot of our health things in the public together. And that we are aware of in the past 24 hours, we've had a handful of new cases. I don't have really an exact number at this point, who have tested positive in the community. So just kind of ironing out how some of those tie back into the building. So I do have a couple kids I still need to test from our positive pool that we had yesterday. But as you saw in the health notice we sent today, we did identify 1 out of that. So does anybody have any questions for me? Anything I missed that you'd like to know? Okay.
Georgia, does that complete your portion of the report out?
It does. I'll take any questions that anyone has. What I would like to say though is we have heard from some community that, we should maybe consider extending our remote time out. And there's a lot of factors to take into consideration for us. The first is that we have said, if we believe that we can be in the building, we need to be in the building. Seat time is seat time, and learning is learning. And that's really important to our staff. We met with the staff today to sort of get a read on how everybody's feeling. And I think the overall consensus is that, if we can be in the building and kids can be in the building, that's really that's our priority. And so that has not changed for us. The other thing the other piece that's really important that we need to consider is that, this is parents need to work. And so we do try to factor that in if at all safe. We really understand and know that can be a hardship for parents who don't have childcare. So those are, a couple of really important statistics for us. We know our kids want to be in school too. That's, they enjoy it here. And so those are some real contributing factors for us. But if there are any concerns that we haven't considered, I'd love to hear them.
Okay. I think I see Johanna has a question. You're still muted, Johanna. We can't hear you. Johanna, you need to unmute.
Hey, Joanna, if there's a little arrow next to the mute key, if you click that arrow, you should see select a microphone. Your microphone might be different from what you need it to be. If you toggle those settings, we might be able to. Are you going into the chat? Okay, Brittany will take the question.
Yes, I'm ready for it.
Sometimes just testing your microphone and your speaker solves the problem too.
While we're waiting for her, I just want to jump in for anybody that has been hearing. There has been a nasty stomach flu going around. Just so people know, we have had kids who have had it pretty bad and they have been tested for COVID and it has been negative. So we have a particular classroom in elementary that's been hit really hard with that. And a couple cases of mono in our building. So things are still circulating and kids are still getting sick with a lot of other things. So I just want to kind of put that out here, that regular germs are still circulating. So if you hear anything about that.
Okay. While Johanna is still typing, I see her fingers moving rapidly. I have a quick question for you, Georgia. Given that you're having this parent night on January the 19th, would there be any value in having board members present for that meeting or not?
I mean, you're certainly welcome to join us. And obviously, this is a tentative date too. Things can change, but I mean, you're certainly welcome to join us if you'd like to.
Okay.
Yep.
Just essentially going to be parents and students touring the building and you kind of sharing an overview of the curriculum and okay.
Q&A, a tour, just some discussion on the different sort of pathways and curriculum, offerings that we have.
Might be a great idea to have some student reps too, to talk with kids about their experience in the building.
Mm-hmm.
Just a thought.
Good.
Okay, I have the chat now if you're ready for it.
Yep.
It says, my concern is in regards to holiday parties and get-togethers within the school next week. What parameters will be put in place? Parents want kids to be healthy for the holiday. How can we help facilitate this? Also, should we be having a get together with staff and faculty on the 22nd? And then another question, can parents opt to have their students remain remote? That was all from her.
Wow, okay. All right, let me see if I can remember that. So Johanna, I think if I understood your first concern was the parties that would be happening within our classrooms. Is okay? I believe that if we were to I think it's going to be pretty low key if they're in the building. That's our plan, and our plan would be to stay within any safety precautions that we have in place now. I mean, nothing's going to change there.
And I can answer the question about the gathering on the 22nd, Johanna. That's strictly for staff, and that won't occur until students have left the building. So there's not going to be any problem with, they're going to have a luncheon hosted for them. And then it's just going to be a coffee and cookie get together before they leave for vacation. So it'll just be board members and staff and administration at that point.
Her response was that it's mixed messaging.
I'm sorry?
Her response was that it's mixed messaging.
I guess I don't understand how it's mixed messaging.
I think probably what she's alluding to is that because we're remote right now, does it make sense for all of us to be getting together, to be mixing and getting together, next Wednesday? And as I said, Johanna, I think everything is subject to change right now. Everything is like on a day-to-day basis based on what the information that we have. And obviously we would make decisions that were safe decisions. If we didn't think that that was a safe route to go, we wouldn't do that.
Absolutely. And even if we're remote, whether we're in the building or we're remote, I guess I feel strongly that it's appropriate for the board to take every opportunity or occasion when a holiday occurs or there's a special event for the board to showcase its appreciation of what the staff is doing, particularly during this tough time where we're going in person and remote and possibly back in person. So given that they're the only ones that are going to be in the building, I don't see that as a conflict of messaging to the public, other than just acknowledging their hard work and their efforts.
And I think, and as far as the remote option goes, Seth, I'll let you chime in on this if you'd like.
Yeah, this year, the only remote is for students that are either quarantining due to close contact or quarantining due to being positive. And if we do return to the classroom by Monday, we will have very few of our kids still in quarantine. It would be just maybe down to half. So, but yeah, as of right now, the only remote is for close contacts and positive cases.
I just have one more message from Joanna. It says, thank you. I'm not discrediting the teachers' work at all, and I'm not in objection to celebrating them at all.
Oh, I know that. I understand that, Johanna. I wasn't clear on what your concern was.
And those are great concerns. They are. And everything right now is like a day-to-day. It's a day-to-day, on a day-to-day basis for us.
Right.
I mean, I'm just going to throw this out there. We spent 2 days really looking at our sports and our athletics. And then when we were almost ready to send out the notice, we ended up going remote. So we were going one direction and then we ended up going a different direction. And so that's the way it's been in this building for the past 2 years. So.
Right. Okay. You at a point where we can move on to the next portion, Georgia?
Absolutely. Yep. Unless anybody else has any.
Chris has his hand raised.
Okay.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So my thought too was, Linda can speak to this, is while I think we're doing okay in managing what's going on for sure at the school with the cases, it has been a lot more activity, I think, in the past 30 days than we've had in a while. My only thought was, I mean, we work in a system where we have 250 people in one building. There's a bit of an uptick in community spread, a little bit from what I've been hearing and know about. And I'm just concerned that, is it worth it for 2 or 3 days versus saying, and I'm just throwing this out here, I'm going to default to your judgment as the staff and administration, but to go remote the rest of this week and then give staff and students next week and the week off, clear to slate, and then come back on January 3rd. If the staff still wants to do, maybe instead of doing the teacher workshop on the 3rd of January, doing it next week, and then also doing their holiday party at the same time. It was just a thought. I definitely don't want to micromanage this, but I'm kind of throwing it out there because the way some of this has been, especially these last variants, are people, especially if vaccinated and stuff, you don't even know about symptoms until after you might test. So my concern is just where we try to go in general with this. I'm concerned about the elderly in our community with those pieces. And I appreciate the challenges that you have. You guys have got to use your best judgment. But I'm just thinking with the holidays coming up and that, if things make it, say we go back to the 2 days and they make an ugly turn by all the protocols, then most people are going to have to quarantine over the Christmas holiday at a minimum, because their 10 days will start on, say, the 16th or 17th. And we're not running another pool, from what I understand, right? Because next week we won't run a pool. So,
No, it's a state
Right.
thing. Nobody in the state is running pools after this week.
right.
Yeah.
We are going to run blind the last 4 or 5 days, so to speak. And I know some districts have laid that out and are looking at just not running those last 2 weeks. We historically get out early in June, earlier than a lot of districts. So if we're worried about days, that maybe they can be made up on the June side, when it rains almost every day in June. So I'm just saying, something to think about. Again, not trying to micromanage, but I'm wondering, risk versus reward. You know, Governor Mills has been saying we're maxed out on the in the hospitals and those pieces. And like you said, we do have good participation, but we still only have 85% of the staff and, what was it, 65% of the students? And maybe I got the percentage wrong on the students, but so there's 35 and 15% that's unknown. So, and we're not doing another test in the next day. I understand. Might seem surprised for me arguing this from the other side, but I've seen a lot more information come in the past few days that I'm aware of. So just makes me think about the risk reward, asking you to weigh it out. We'll defer to your judgment on it. If you want my opinion, you've gotten it. So if you didn't, you still got it.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, any other questions or comments?
Kayla has her hand raised.
Okay, Kayla.
I guess my first question is, why aren't they running pool testing next week? And my second question is, what are our options and accommodations for people with unconnectable internet and working parents? First being unconnectable internet. I mean, I had to not attend Zoom meetings this morning because I just didn't have the internet. And I'm sure other parents, as I've heard today from phone calls I've gotten, are also struggling with internet. So I didn't know if the mobile hotspots were going to be available and why we weren't running pool testing next week.
So I will speak to the pool testing. That's a state thing. They, for some reason, I don't really know. It's kind of like they did to us before Thanksgiving too. They had just said that as of December 17th, that would be the last day to do, to run the couriers for the lab testing. And then they were not going to allow people to schedule any more tests until Tuesday, January 4th. So we won't be able to resume pool testing. Normally we do Mondays and Tuesdays. We will not be able to do that Monday. We have a workshop day, so it kind of works out. We will do everybody on Tuesday, pre-K through 12, kind of like I did yesterday. So that's, I'm not really sure of the rationale, but it's not something that we chose not to do. So I
Thank
can
you.
answer that one.
Kayla, I can speak to the internet piece too. So right now we do have a couple hotspots, but they're not activated. We terminated the activation on those hotspots the end of last year because they were fairly expensive. And at that point in time, we didn't really need them as much, but there is an emergency connectivity fund that we did apply for. We were awarded it, but we just haven't received the hotspots yet. So I don't know if maybe the hotspots that we have in the IT room right now, maybe we can try to activate those for this emergency piece for like 1 month or something. I'm not sure if that would be an option. And I'm trying to think outside the box, Kayla, for like right now for a way for you to get internet. If we had outdoor Wi-Fi, you know, that could be an option, but we don't right now. And I don't know how good your cell service is. I don't want to put a burden on you and your plans if you could run a hotspot off your phone. I know that's definitely not ideal.
I totally would if I could, but I don't have cell phone service.
So if you don't have cell phone service either, the hotspots won't work because those run off cell phone service. So, you know, it's one of those things where it's like the provider's piece, you know, and if your internet service provider, it's probably either Consolidated or HughesNet, only gives you so many megs. You know, it's a really tough situation. And to be honest, Kayla, I wish I had an answer for you, but you know, it's one of those things I can't solve. So, yeah, I wish I had something better for you. I mean, we do have some hotspots in stock, and maybe we can activate one, and we could provide you one that you could drive somewhere where there is cell service and use that. I don't know if that might be an option. I certainly could talk with Georgia and administration about that, but yeah, I wish I had something better for you.
Thank you. I see that Karen's hand is up. Karen.
Yeah, I would like to say I just agree with the administration's decision right now to try to keep the kids in school as much as possible. But I ask everybody out there to please stay in your small pods. Try not to go out into the community too much. We all have to collectively as a community make sure our kids are in school.
Thank you, Karen. I really appreciate that. Okay. I don't see any other hands, so let's move on to Mr. LaLiberty and his report.
All right. Circling way back to Sean, as far as the picture, the huge picture of me, this causes a lot of stress because if any of you have made a YouTube video, you get 3 shots at that picture. And if any of them are unfortunate, that's what's going to go on our webpage. So yeah, thanks, Sean. Yeah, and one other thing that I have been doing, and I think Mrs. Russell has for the basketball, is an Instagram, and mine's @Principal_to_Liberty. And I'm just trying to, you know, kind of like my videos I have in the last couple of days, I'm trying to like do a story every day and maybe a couple posts just to kind of show a little bit of what's going on in the building. And I'm trying to keep up with that. So if you are on Instagram, it's @Principal_to_Liberty. So Georgia mentioned briefly our last meeting, we had a lot of discussion around sports, and like a lot of things over the last 2 years, we did spend a day and a half on creating a plan to get people in. We had a plan for tickets for athletes, then we had additional seats that we were going to use Sign Up Genius to have people get those spots, and we were about to send it out to the community, and we realized we're going remote. And so we have a great plan. Who knows if we'll be able to use it. And that's kind of the story of what's been going on. Like in a little while, I have to do a presentation for Extended Tuesdays. So I put hours and hours and hours into planning for something that you never know if it's going to even be able to happen. So, so we did have a plan. for the games, but as of right now, we have no games in the foreseeable future. So we'll see how that goes. As far as in school, teachers are just in that piece of time between Thanksgiving and Christmas. You just kind of put your nose to the grind and get as much done as you can. That was going great. We pivot to remote, and now people in the building, some are Zooming, recording videos, getting materials ready. It's a constant flow of stuff being left in the lobby for parents, and everyone's just kind of doing their thing. If they have a little bit of time, they've been capitalizing on it. I've seen some teams meeting to kind of discuss some things they haven't been able to work on. So yeah, we're just doing our thing and hoping to get our kids back as soon as possible. It's pretty boring around here, no kids in the building. Just adults. But yeah, it's about all I have for right now. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Seth, very much. And Maya Liberty, our student rep, do you have anything to share tonight? Is Maya with us?
She was, but I don't see her right now.
I don't see her.
I don't see her.
Okay. I guess then I'll have to skip over her. All right, we'll move then to item number 7, the committee reports. I'll start with the policy committee. Kathy Catrini is unable to be with us this evening. She's in New York visiting a sick sister, but the committee did meet on December the 6th. We considered 4 different policies, which I'll be bringing to you as action items. And I believe that pretty much covers what the policy committee was up to. I'll move to the finance committee, and Chris Farmer, if you'd like to share with us a report about that group.
Sure, we reviewed per usual the financials and all that there. We also voted on allocating a stipend to cover for communication and technology through the end of the year, which was for the sum of $13,000. That's pretty much it for that.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris. I appreciate that. The facilities committee, Deb Ladd.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, we met on December 2nd, which is the first Thursday of the month. And just an FYI going forward, we're going to be meeting at 4 o'clock in the future on that first Thursday. And that is reflected in the minutes that will be posted. We talked about what's being done in the building. The couple of things, the biggest thing I think for us is the operating system that runs our HVAC is outdated. And Sean might have more information about that, but it looks like we're going to have to do some upgrading there. Apparently the system that it's running on doesn't work anymore with the new one. So that'll be a potential expense going forward. As far as paving goes, obviously that's on hold for right now, but we are going to be reaching out and getting quotes from several different places. Chris had mentioned another company who's done some work here in Rangeley. So that will become part of the budget process. Still in the works is looking at the stairway treads going upstairs, and Jeff, when he gets a spare minute, is going to see what we can do to improve the appearance and also the functionality of those. The portable classroom had kind of a wonky smell, and that seems to have gone away. The mold test, I believe, Jeff, came back negative. The recommendation is to put a dehumidifier in there, and we also talked about putting in the budget perhaps replacing the carpeting with some more durable flooring that doesn't hold mold. The outdoor pavilion is hard at work. If you haven't watched the video from Nini, please go check it out because it's pretty cool. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that continues. There will be money in the put in the potential budget for paving. There's a spot out behind the gym that's an egress that needs to be done. And again, that will happen in the spring. Also budgeting to get some of the brick facade work done. The big fence is painted, and the plan is to put some sort of white rocks, for lack of a better term, but sort of a landscaping feature that says Lakers, and that's a project going on in the spring. We've got some potential leaky spots that they're okay for right now, but they will be cleaned up and patched up and repaired in the springtime. And still in the budget process is looking at potential adding potential parking spots. And we did talk about that last month, and that's going forward. We'll have that in the budget for next year.
Thank you, Deb. Does
You're
anyone
welcome.
have any questions or, yes, Kayla?
Kind of unrelated to what Deb had just said, but I had been asked a question that I forgot to mention. I had a few parents ask me today when they would be informed whether remote would be extended or not. And I did say that I would ask. So I just probably might not be the appropriate time to ask, but I just didn't want to forget to ask that question because I was asked by a few community members today.
Absolutely. And you want an answer. Georgia?
We had said that we would be communicating out tomorrow. We're still waiting for some information. It more about what's happening in the community and how that attaches back to us. But we are planning to make a decision moving forward tomorrow. So families should be hearing from us.
And will
Okay, so I can tell them end of day tomorrow?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Great. All right. Any other questions or comments about Deb's report on facilities? Okay, thank you very much. Moving forward then. The goal, a number of months ago, the board established 2 goals, areas that we were collectively as a board going to work on this year. And that first goal area had to do with the board's, and this is also supported by a new law that was enacted on October the 18th, that boards need to have a protocol or plan for how they're communicating with their staff and their community. And the chairs of that committee are Chris Farmer and Joanne Taylor. Chris, do you want to just briefly catch people up to date?
Sure. As we've been getting ready, we're going to meet in January because of having to do the remote today. It was just too much to try to do 3 Zoom meetings in a row. So we put it off to January in those pieces, but we've gotten quite a way. Sorry, look like I'm looking sideways. I'm watching the big monitor so I can see what people say. The work that Sean and the admin staff have done so far to kind of tee things up in the right direction has got us moving, I think, in the right way, so we can map out some clearer tasks, clearer task list in January based on what's there. I think if we were faced with a state audit right now as to do we have the proper vehicles in hand, I think we could check the box and say, yeah, we've probably got a good B. I mean, to me, I'd like to be A+, but I think we're at a solid B with the vehicle that's in place, the improvement Sean's made to the website, the alert headline, everything that Kim and Sean are doing with the communications with that, and Lindsay and the staff with the health updates. And we're working through those pieces. We don't have everything solved yet, but I think we're moving in the right direction. And when we have the goal 1 meeting, I think we'll be able to have some data coming in too from the website and those pieces and some of the other venues that we have information going out to see what's been successful so far. I think we're in good shape moving along, and I feel confident that before budget season we'll be pretty wrapped up with that goal 1. I don't think it's going to take more than 1, maybe 2 meetings to kind of fine tune things. I think there's a solid base there based on the way the administration has grabbed the ball to try to help us get some of this in place.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris. Johanna, I thought I saw you typing. Did you have a question? No.
Mary, can I just chime in real quick too?
Absolutely, Georgia.
Just to add one more thing, Chris, that you all should know about for your committee. Abby Thompson, who, as you know, takes minutes for us, is going to be putting together a real quick, a short sort of a snapshot for the Highlander, as to what the occurrences or the things that are happening at board meetings. So that will be another communication piece out.
Thank you, Georgia. And interestingly, as part of the survey results that we got back, that It was impressive that almost 90% of parents felt that they were getting an adequate amount of information, the right amount of information, but several suggested that not everybody is tech savvy and that we really needed to address print media. And that's why we're re-engaging the Highlander. And given that until we approve board minutes at the following monthly meeting, we really can't put anything out there. Having this sort of interim article in the Highlander really will address that issue of keeping people more current on what was discussed at board meetings. Okay. The second goal committee area was the curriculum, the supervision of the curriculum. And I know, once again, Kathy is the chair of that group. Joan, I know you were at that meeting. I'm not sure if Kathy asked you to maybe fill in your discussion to date, kind of putting you on the spot. She didn't ask you. So I think then we'll just have to skip that report right now, because I think you and Kathy were the only two besides myself that were at that meeting. Is that correct? Okay, so we'll have an update next month. Thank you very much. Okay, are there any appointments, resignations, nominations, or transfers, Georgia?
Yes, I have one. I
Okay.
have Jacqueline Haley, who is our high school Ed Tech 3 / interventionist, has given her resignation.
Any questions or comments on that? Okay, given that, we will move to action items, starting with action item 9.1, consideration of extended early release time. Seth.
Yes. So I guess 2 months ago, maybe, I came to the board and we discussed additional Tuesday release time to kind of dig into some projects that we, things we haven't been able to do. And I was asked to see if I could make that coincide with Ski Tuesday. So I have been working with the mountain, and they have set Ski Tuesday. And just to be clear for the people here, the Ski Tuesday is a mountain program. In the past, it has been a school program, but it is a mountain program. And I've just been kind of sending out communications for them. They're looking to start on January 11th. Oh my gosh, where is January? January 11th and running through March 8th, and just skipping the Tuesday that would happen during February break. And so I worked with them, and they would like the kids up there at around 12:30 so they could start their program at 1 and run it till 3. So initially I talked about an 11:30 release, and I thought with that program, if we were going to do this at 12 would make more sense. So, initially, like I said, I'm just looking for more time. We have a lot of things that we never get done here, and especially with COVID and eating up time. And like I said, it's putting this huge amount of times into things that never even happen, or possibly couldn't happen. And so I went to the teams. At first, I was thinking about maybe doing a school-wide workshop and have everyone work on the same thing, try something new. And I said, wait a minute, why don't I reach out to the team and say, what are the things that you've been wanting to do for the last 2 years but haven't been able to? And I got quite a list. And just to run through some, the middle school is really excited about possibly doing a Rangeley study unit and interdisciplinary unit. Social studies, ELA, science, math, and specials, looking at Rangeley history. And that was just one thing they were excited about. 3 through 5 team or the K through 5 team, developing reading benchmarks, vertical teaming for reading curriculum, creating a science and social studies curriculum progression, look at our reading curriculum, look at our writing curriculum, look at our programs. We've been talking about having new reading and writing programs for a couple of years, really digging into that work, getting some training around existing programs. I mean, their list went on and on, so they'd have to pick. The specials, it was a lot around website development, especially when we're remote. The specials, I think, sometimes struggle with how they fit in with the core content, and they're really excited about getting, taking this time to develop a lot of lessons and stuff to have on their website available for families to use at home. Special education, sign language study group, collaborating with classroom teachers, really attaching the special education staff in with the classroom, the teams that are working to see how they can help their students be more successful in the classroom. Wilson reading program study, and just a lot of putting their people out into the school. I probably missed some. The high school team to continue to work on the project, and Ro is going to have a presentation next time. That is going great. I think the students dug their heels in a little bit at the end of the first quarter about the summative that went along with it, but everybody got that in, and Ro's going to share some of the product of that. Looking at curriculum, and a big thing for high school is every year we kind of review our program of studies, but sit down as a team and really dig into that and see if we need to make some changes there. So I guess what I'm asking is, on these Ski Tuesdays would be a 12 o'clock release for the whole school. Going from 11:30 to 12, we would be able to feed everyone here. So, it will not only give us, additional professional development time. I don't know how many kids right now are going to be in the Ski Tuesday program. I'm guessing it's going to be a lot. And, we struggle with, if we have, if we send half of our students to the mountain at 12, we're going to have half a student body left here to kind of figure out what to do with them. And then I think what would happen is kids that aren't in the Ski Tuesday program would probably just sign out and go skiing, maybe. So I guess what I'm asking is the board to approve, there's 8 of them. I guess if they all happen, to just release all students at 12. I hope everyone goes to the mountain. I'm working on transportation right now. This is kind of difficult because we don't have a lot of bus drivers, because I want to be able to transport kids to the mountain. So one idea I have is for our McGalloway driver to leave school a little bit early, take a bus load up to the mountain, drop them off, and then come back to the school. And anybody that rides the McGalloway bus we'd have like a short study hall for them until the bus got back and take them out. But I'm guessing a lot of those students may do the program. That's not the best scenario. The other scenario is that enough kids sign up that we have one bus that just goes to the mountain and maybe does a few drop-offs along the way of kids that aren't going to ski. And then the other bus does a quick in-town loop and then heads to McGalloway. So that's probably our biggest piece right now, is figuring out how to get kids up there. So, but again, I don't know the numbers yet. There's an open house tomorrow night at the mountain for their program, which I thought was a great addition to they've never done that before, to kind of get people signed up. So that was a lot of information. I know I'm trying to move fast because I know it's getting late, but are there any questions?
Yeah, I have a clarifying question. How is this different than the approval we gave you prior to this? It changes to 12 o'clock instead of 12:30? Or
I didn't have approval before. I just presented the idea, and then, I kind of was looking for initial, like, should I spend some more time on this? And one of the big things is, if I could make this happen during Ski Tuesday, it'd be much easier to do. And I moved it to 12 because it makes more sense. I don't want to, if we did 11:30, we'd have this like half hour of gray area. I'm not going to send kids home, and just 12 worked. And it still gives us a nice chunk of like 3 hours to really get some of these projects done that I think, will have a direct impact on our curriculum instruction in a positive way.
So could I have a motion to approve 12 o'clock early release on Ski Tuesdays from January the 11th through March the 8th?
So moved.
Debbie, seconded by Kayla?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Good job on this, Seth, putting this all together.
Thank you
Thank
for all
you.
you've done.
I just hope everything works out,
All right, I'm going to call the motion. The chair counts 1 if there's no objection. The motion passes. Okay, we're going to move then to item number 9.2, which is consideration of IJJ-E Citizens Challenge of Educational and Library Media. Hopefully you all have that policy in front of you. You received that. You'll note that in the top left-hand corner, it says policy with proposed changes. And you'll notice that what is lined out on that, the current policy lined out in the top portion of it, where it's asking for the type of material, the author, title, and so forth. What is lined out is represents, complainant represents, and then him or herself, an organization. And that's been changed to simply stating the complainant's name and the complainant's town and or dash plantation. Those are, that is the change on this form IJJ-E. Can I have a motion to adopt this policy?
So moved.
Thank you, Karen. Can I have a second?
Second?
Deborah, second. Any discussion? Seeing none, the chair counts one. If there's no objection, any objections? The policy passes. Thank you. The next policy under consideration is IKAB. And this has to do with report cards and progress reports. And the policy committee is recommending that it is rescinded. It's an existing policy that we recommend be rescinded because it has language in it that's irrelevant. Can I have a motion? I see a second from Kayla. Johanna so moves a motion and Kayla seconds. Any discussion or questions?
Mary, just so it's, Kayla was frozen with her.
Oh,
two-
I'm sorry.
Just so we don't count it. I don't know if
Okay,
she seconds
thank
it.
you. Can I have a second then for that motion? Joan, thank you, Joan. Okay, any questions or discussion? Okay, chair counts one. If there's no objection. Seeing none, the motion passes. Okay, the third policy we're bringing to you is NEPN-NSBA, which has to do with transcripts. And it is a recommendation of the policy committee, as you note on the top left-hand corner, that is recommended this current policy be rescinded because it's redundant and really doesn't speak to the process of transcript, the way transcripts are handled currently with colleges and secondary education organizations. May I have a motion? Thank you, Karen. Second, Joan. Any discussion? Okay, chair counts one. If there are no objections. Okay, the motion passes. The last policy then we're bringing to you this evening is policy NEPN-NSBA. And this is grading and reporting of student progress. And our existing policy
You just rescinded it.
is really, it has some language in it that speaks to standards and learning results and aspects of grading which we do not currently adhere to in the building. So there is a proposed policy that you've received for adoption that actually comes from Maine School Management Association. It's a model policy on their part. And let me just point out a few things that have been changed in this policy. The first paragraph is an adoption of language that's not currently in our policy. The purpose of grading and reporting system is to provide students and parents with accurate and timely information, etc. The second paragraph is in our existing policy. The third paragraph is a rewording that more accurately reflects what our grading and reporting of student progress actually adheres to. The fourth paragraph is added from Maine School Management that starts, teachers are expected to use information from multiple and varied opportunities for students' demonstration of achievement, etc. That's a paragraph that's totally added. In the fifth paragraph, the first sentence is additional language that is not in our existing policy, which states students and parents will be informed at regular intervals of their academic progress through report cards and other written means. The second sentence is currently in our policy and would stay as exists. And in the last paragraph, rather than in the second line, rather than indicate that students and parents would be notified by the end of the third quarter, that is a revision rather than saying April 1st. So it's not a specific date, but it occurs at the end of the third quarter. And the last part of that paragraph that states as set forth the board policy, IKB graduation requirements, is a reference to that is an addition. So it's a bit of a major rewrite, but it was a model policy by Maine school management, and administration and teachers felt that it was a more accurate reflection of what grading and reporting actually looks like in the building currently. Seth, do you have anything to add to that?
No, not really. It's just we just rescinded our old one, and this one it makes sense. The old one didn't even had contradicting things in it. So yeah, this is just a MSMA, just boilerplate policy. Yeah.
Okay.
Deb, did you want to add something in or ask that question?
I typed it in the chat, but I'm just wondering, do we need parents/guardians? I'm not sure about other policies if they contain the phrase guardians, but not every child's parent is the person to whom these reports go. Just a question.
So you'd like to make a revision that we add guardian?
If it's
That's
consistent with
applicable
other
in any of our
policies.
other policies. Okay, so can I have a motion then to adopt policy NEPN-NSBA with the revision to add parent/guardian?
Chris, did you have your hand up for something before that?
Oh, you do have your hand up.
I do. The only thing I'm concerned about, and maybe you can clarify because I don't have IKB handy to me. Is there a remedy? Because I'm looking at, they get notified at the end of the third quarter, they might not graduate or advance to the next year. Is there a remedy to resolve that? And is that spelled out in IKB? If it is, then fine. If not, that's what my only concern is that we don't have, someone says, okay, yep, that's it, you're not going on, but is there a remedy that is allowed for the student and parent to try to resolve it? I don't see that spelled out, and maybe it is in this IKB. I don't know, but I think that's a procedural problem there, in my opinion.
I don't know if it's an IKB, but typically before the end of the third quarter, your senior year, you know if you're going to graduate or not. And if we had a student that was there, it would be credit recovery, which I believe is in the student handbook, but we'd work with that student to do some credit recovery. If their whole, I mean, I'm guessing, yeah, it'd be pretty minor. If you didn't find out until the third quarter of your senior year that you weren't going to graduate and you had no warning before that, it'd probably be just maybe a half a credit makeup, and we would work very hard for credit recovery. If Heidi's in the room, if she wanted to add anything to that, she can, but we work pretty good with our kids throughout to make sure they're on track to get there.
I think you did. I was just questioning procedurally, there should be something that outlines an appeal process or some other way to credit recover, like you said, or some other piece to make it work. So that's all I'm asking. So, I mean, if you're saying credit recovery covers it in another section of the policy, then I'm fine with what's proposed.
Yeah, I mean, I can look at it with handbook revision. You mean like, so you would like to see a procedure for credit recovery of somebody that's not going to graduate?
I just hate to see, we determine someone can't graduate to go the next year, that we have a track that they're going to go on in order to try to fix it in the fourth quarter or somehow retain, because I just hate to see, obviously, like you said, they've been told multiple times, this is kind of a last thing. It's the last look. I just hate to see, I like to see every kid graduate from here that to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I'll talk to Heidi.
Does that make sense? Yeah,
it does.
You want to agree with what I'm saying?
Chris, would it make sense then that you might make a motion that we table this policy until we follow through to make sure KAB and or the student handbook clarifies the various aspects of what a student can do to be in the track for graduation. I see that Heidi's hand is up, so I'll call on
My only
Heidi.
concern with that is, Mary, we can't really table it because we rescinded the other two. So we don't really
I
have.
think,
The
Chris,
other two
can,
have- Go ahead. Seth.
okay, I didn't want to step on Heidi. I would recommend that you approve this policy. We can, over the summer, look at our handbook. I can promise you, we are gonna do everything except maybe fly to the moon and back to get every kid to graduate if they need credit. There's a lot of options, but I would recommend approving this, and then we can look at our handbook to spell out more clear. That, I think that's more appropriate rather than a policy to be in the student handbook. But I'll let Heidi chime in.
I'm fine with that. Obviously, Heidi should say something, but I'm
Heidi.
getting it approved.
Yeah, I would stay away from a specific policy only because each student's situation is different. And I don't think that one policy would cover all of the situations that we may come into with credit recovery. You know, if it was necessary to have a policy, if that was a suggestion from you know, who we work with for policies in our handbook, then I would want to be general and not specific. You know, Seth is right. You know, I meet with students at the end of each year and give them a printout of what credits they have earned, what credits they still need. And if any student, whether it's their freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, are not on track for specific credits, then that's a conversation and a plan is put in to effect immediately to address it. So, I mean, I don't know if that answers everybody's questions, but.
I think that's very helpful, Heidi. Thank you. So given that discussion, can I have a motion to adopt the proposed policy IKAB?
I think we have it with,
We have a motion on the floor?
I think we're already there. I think we just have to call
Okay.
the.
All right, thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. So chair
Yeah.
counts one. Are there any objections to the adoption of this policy? Seeing none, the policy is adopted. So we are at the end of our meeting process. I would just like to say our next meeting is January the 11th. I wish each and every one of you and your families a healthy and happy holiday season. I hope it goes well for everyone and that you have a joyous time. And I look forward to somebody making a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Karen, okay, a second? Chris, thank you. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Good, aye. Good evening, everybody. Take care, drive safely, enjoy your families.